Welcome to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, trying to make the world seem a little more normal. And today, I don't know if we're going to achieve that goal, but we'll try. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. You got the video playing in the background there, Jay? Trying to make the world seem a little more normal.
Shoot, I'm sorry. I don't know how to turn
today, I don't know if we're going to achieve that goal, but we'll try. Welcome. You got the video playing in the background?
Yeah, let me turn off I'll turn off the speaker.
All right, cool.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. But as I was saying, today we're going to try, and my guest today is Jay, who had a unique item happen to him, and we're going to talk about it. So, Jay, first and foremost, welcome, and how you doing today?
Howdy, I'm awake, alive, and ready to go.
Well, that's perfect, because the first question I always ask in my podcast is, what got you into the paranormal / spiritual world?
I was a pothead kind of partier, amoral douchebag in college, and kind of lost all track and was pretty much down. And then I met a Bible guy at the gym, and he invited me to church, and I started devouring Christianity, just completely trying to make my life the way it's supposed to be and be a good boy and all that shit. And did that for 6-7 years, pretty hardcore. And then I went in the army and ended up in Germany, and lost a lot of the shine of the religion. And then just as I went deeper and deeper into it and questioned the validity of it, finally came to the conclusion. I got out of the army, moved to Denver, moved to Coeur d'Alene, and then it was sort of a soul thing to go to Coeur d'Alene. But I didn't know anybody here. I had 3 kids and a wife, no job, and I moved here just because. And that's in Idaho. Beautiful small town. It's kind of idyllic place, and we bought a house on a street with lots of trees. And I remember walking down the street and asking myself kind of final answer. Remember that game show where they're like, final answer? I was like, because I had been mixed about whether I believed it or not, and it just kept making less and less sense. And I thought about the Bible verse where God orders genocide, and I can't remember what book, but anyway, he orders genocide, kill all the women, kill all the children, kill all the animals, kill everybody. I'm like, okay, did God order genocide, or did they make that up as an excuse to kill these people? And I just decided they made it up. And then I said to myself, I don't believe it. Like in a real way, where that was the final answer. There was no back and forth. I don't believe it. And when I did say that to myself, walking down the street, all of a sudden, there was so much mental bullshit going on, trying to fit the world, fit myself into the scriptural type stuff. And all of a sudden that was gone. And all of a sudden I was like, my eyes were wide open. It's like I could see everything. It was my own mind. It was me again, instead of me filtered through all this crap that I was trying to edit myself with. And at that moment I said, I'm going to find something new to replace Christianity, because I was really pissed off about it,
Yeah.
And I made a motto, because I was in college. I was kind of thinking, as miraculous as everything is, just in its simple being, just in the very, very most rudimentary sense of everything, every speck of creation is like hugely miraculous. It's like, it's unbelievably intelligent, every speck of everything. And so I thought, reality is God, because there can't be anything more unfathomable than reality itself. So I said, reality is God. And then I wanted to be real. And I felt like if we were natural, like a deer or an antelope or, you know, any kind of animal just does what they're going to do, and they don't think about it. They don't have second guesses inside themselves, and they don't edit their behavior through an ego or whatever, you know. So they just are naturally what they are, and they're innocent in that way. And then, so I thought, okay, reality is God. When you pretend or lie, you cease to exist, you die. So your true self is gone. As soon as you pretend anything, or as soon as you lie, as soon as you alter what's real for some end or for some, you know, moral thing or what, you know, whatever reason people alter the way they are to fit something. Anytime you do that, you die. The true you is not there. There's some facsimile of you that isn't really you. And so that was my motto: reality is God. When you pretend or lie, you cease to exist, you die. And then I went online and I was like completely real. So I blasted Christianity as a kind of like the pioneer of LARPing. Sort of I went on Newsmax forum, and there was Culture Society, and I blasted Christianity. I told my wife I don't, you know, I was in a kind of a bad relationship marriage, and I told her I didn't want to have a divorce because we still had 3 kids and I loved my kids, but I wanted to have a girlfriend. She said, I couldn't care less if you have a girlfriend, you know. So I just started going on the binge of chasing women, trying to find the one, you know, and thinking romantically about it. I was kind of into Ayn Rand, however you say her name at the time. And basically made a fool of myself for my ideal of being real. You know, I would just completely try to be real no matter what, and say whatever, whenever. And anyway, it's a super huge story, so it's going to be hard to kind of condense it, but eventually I started to go down. I told people online, I said, I'm going down, you know, I literally sacrificed myself because I knew I would be unable to function in the world as being real, as being, you know, because everybody has to shade who they really are to get in and fit in. And, you know, so I told them online, watch me fall, you know, I'm going to go down. And so that was my mission, was to really just go so far into the depths somehow. I didn't really know how. Just like, I'm going to go into the depths and find something new and replace religion. You know, that was my, like, I was about 40 years old at the time, and I was thinking that's going to be, because I didn't want to just go down as another nobody, and I wanted to be a hero, you know. And also I was very pissed off at Christianity because I thought it, and all the spiel that people put out there to make it seem real and make it seem true, but it's all BS, you know. I'm 100% sure of that, and I was 100% sure of it, and I've never changed the slightest little bit. So anyway, as I go down, I get fired, you know, I get fired, I get divorced, I get all this terrible crap happens to me. And that's okay. Do you got to talk to her?
No, it's okay. It's all good. I locked the door for a reason.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, I get in this situation where I'm trying to recover. I go into real estate, you know, from fired at my job, blah, blah, blah. And my dad was a realtor, so I thought I'll go into real estate. And I love Coeur d'Alene. I thought people need to come here. It's a beautiful place, you know. And I was very, very successful right away, but I was still doing my stupid crap with being real. And like, if I got a woman on the phone in the real estate business, I'd be all flirty with her. If her voice made me feel flirty, I would be flirty. I wouldn't like not be flirty because I had to be professional or something, you know. I just went for whatever, and ended up in a house with a woman getting caught, but not quite caught. And so I could lie about it, and she lied about it, and we made up a story and kind of got away with it. But I was a liar, you know. My ideal of reality is God. When you pretend to lie, you cease to exist, you die. I didn't match up to my ideal at all. It was kind of like, and when I walked into the office, people knew that I was lying, or I just felt like they did. I had like this. And at that point, I kind of completely shut down my idealism and my want to be a hero type crap, you know. And I just, okay, I'm done with this bullshit, you know. I didn't consciously say that to myself, but I was so beaten down by the consequences of my behavior and stuff that I gave up. without consciously giving up. You know what I mean? It's like I was just in survival mode. And I met this guy in real estate who was a super genius real estate developer. And we started doing business and hanging out and doing jet ski stuff. He had a place on a lake, and I met this girl that lived on the same lake across from him. And we ended up making super good money on real estate deals that I found. You know, I was like a really good finder. I could find deals that just made people's eyes pop, you know, and boom. So we did $1,006,000 deal and $600,000. And then he used that money to build a man-made lake real estate project that was going to make me a millionaire. I mean, all I had to do was stay in the game and sell this. But in the meantime, he was torturing me, psychosexual mind torture, telling me horrible things. And one of the things he said was, bend over, I'll drive, because I was driving a golf cart. And when I was still sort of subconsciously in my be real mode, and I imagined bending over and letting him drive in a violent way. And he had told me how big he was. And, you know, it's just the most miserable. And my girlfriend was in love with him, you know, and it was the horrible situation. He dominated me like you couldn't even imagine how bad it was, the domination and the trauma I was in because of my girlfriend being in love with him. And you know what I mean? It's like, and at the same time, I'm in real estate deals with him, trying to make, you know, get rich. And so I imagined that happening, bend over, I'll drive. I imagined that in my mind. What it did was it created a psychic torpedo into my belly that basically put a hole in my world of we're talking literal. We're talking a literal black hole occurred in my soul. I became a literal black hole, which took me years to figure out what it was. But it was a psychic black hole with strands of, like, I don't know what the fibrous type material. It's electrically fibrous, but it's maybe not physically fibrous. That there's like a point of singularity that goes up into my brain and shit. And this is 2003 this happened, and then it took like 6-8 months for it's kind of like a snow globe, the consciousness going down into the black hole. And after a year or so, I just couldn't function. My eyes were freaking twisted and everything, and the real estate deal was going, and you know, I had to back out of it because I just couldn't maintain anymore. And they ended up screwing me out of the money I was supposed to make by setting up the deal, and I was broke. Had no friends, because when you go about and tell everybody you got a girlfriend, you're married, and your wife doesn't care, and you know, all this shit, people hate you. And you're going against everything most people believe with Christianity. And, you know, I had no support system in place. I had thrown everything away, you know, basically truly sacrificed myself. And so all of a sudden I'm this deranged. I was within a millimeter of being a millionaire. And instead I'm a deranged beggar with nothing. And anyway, so long forgotten mission, absolutely, completely vanquished, utterly gone was any notion that I would be a hero and find something new. I mean, I was literally laying on my back 12 hours a day, unable to do anything, and twisted, deranged crap. People would see me at coffee shops and stuff, or wherever I would go, and look at me like that. You know, that guy's evil. That guy's evil. You know, it's just automatic. Like there's something seriously wrong with that guy. But I got tortured. It wasn't me that was bad. It was the torturer that was bad. And so I checked out a book at the library called The Way of the Wizard by Deepak Chopra, and it talked about the heart and the mirror image not being the real you. Like there was the character in the book was one of those English folklore guys. Anyway, Merlin. Yeah. Merlin. Yeah. And so Merlin's telling his little student guy, you know, you're innocent because you don't think about what you look like, basically, you know, because he wouldn't wash his face. He'd like go days without washing his face and had no idea what he looked like. He says, that's your innocence. And, you know, anyway, it's talking about the heart and the cave of the truth. Cave of the heart is the home of truth and all this stuff. And I was just reading it. This is a pretty small book, you know, with like little snippets of wisdom and stuff, with little tiny illustrated stories. But well, like I said, I used to be kind of more into myself than I should be, looking in the mirror and stuff, kind of hanging out, kind of wanting to be a model type, poser type guy, so I go to the mirror and I look like this wretched old man, not old necessarily, but, just wretched person looking in the mirror. It was like, I'm looking at this wretched person, and I look at my heart in the mirror. I'm like looking at a mirror, and I like look at my heart, and then I close my eyes and I kind of somehow find my way into my heart, where I feel my inner child, or, I recognize myself from second grade when I was a teacher's pet. It was like this special me that the teacher loved, that I was this guy that could add numbers instantaneously on the chalkboard and stuff. And she had me correct the papers of all that, you know what I mean? It was like this special relationship I had with this special teacher. And I felt that same person inside my heart somehow. I can't describe how I did it, but I went down, I searched in my soul, and I was in my heart, and I felt the inner child me. And I said, this is me with my eyes closed, instead of that's me in the mirror. This is me instead of that. And, I was traumatized. So there was like a huge amount of like this massive, horrible energy in my body. And that kind of went, it kind of started going, and then there was like this indescribable, total freaking light in my consciousness, my awareness, my brain, whatever. And the words, this is going to change the world, were in my mind without me thinking. It was just like, this is going to change the world. That's absolutely, positively, factually, as certain as any human being could be of anything. This is going to change the world. And then look your heart in the mirror was the words that popped into my head. Is like, look your heart in the mirror. Because people normally say, look yourself in the mirror. It's like, it's bullshit. You can't see yourself. Yourself is totally ephemeral. You can't see it. It's a beingness, that's yourself. And the true self is in the heart. So look your heart in the mirror. And then I thought mirror jewelry, and I thought I'll make jewelry to symbolize this thing. And at the same time, this is all in the process of like 3 to 5 seconds. And it's like, I thought the jewelry is going to be really a hard sell, because I'm freaking, I'm wretched, man, just terribly looking, my mind doesn't work hardly. And so I had this revelation, right? Then it took another week to remember that I had declared a mission to find something new to go into the depths. That's how far gone I was from that. It took another week. I'm like, because you go 2 years with no money, no job, everybody hates you, you're laying on your back, you don't recognize yourself, you have no idea what the fuck is going on. I didn't even know that it was the Bend Overall Drive that really did it. It was just, all I knew is I was pathetic. So then all of a sudden things started to make sense. It's like, I declared a mission to go into the depths and find something.
Knock it off, Bella.
Sorry. So, it's like, holy crap. And I tell my kids, oh my God, I'm going to be famous, you guys. I'm going to be famous. I look, it's going to be, and then my kids got tired of it eventually, but they were kind of excited about it at first. And I drew a nice picture of a heart in the mirror accidentally. It was like, I drew a picture from my intuitive side or whatever that turned out to be a heart in a mirror, like a smiling physical heart. It was a cute little picture for kids. And then 6 months later, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months later, I looked at this painting that I did in Monterey. I was in the Army as a linguist, and I studied Russian, and I just wanted to paint my ideal world, right? So I just kind of, not as a painter, not as an artist, just I'm going to paint my ideal world and do the best I can. And I painted this building and a lake and these spirits running around doing kind of weird dances. And I was weird dancing in the clubs, and the building that I painted looks exactly like the Coeur d'Alene Resort, and the lake is right there just like the Coeur d'Alene Resort, and the sidewalks out front where the spirits are dancing looks like the Coeur d'Alene. Is like I painted Coeur d'Alene 20, 15, whatever years before I ever saw it and knew of it. And so I'm like, holy crap, I painted this town. And then Coeur is Coeur d'Alene. Coeur means heart. And it was like, all of a sudden I was like, holy, this is amazing. And I haven't even begun to tell how amazing it is, right? This is just like okay, we're going to give you like a few breadcrumbs on the way.
The intro. It's the intro.
Yeah.
So
okay.
far.
Now we're getting rolling. Right. So, what's the first thing that happened? The first thing that happened is I made jewelry out of clay, like a ton of them, right? And I got this feeling in my hands of what would convey the message the best, or clay around a mirror and hang it. And then I had a jeweler who told me she would do one for me, like for silver, like to make a mold out of. And I couldn't decide what shape because I had all these shapes. I was like, I couldn't decide. So I'm walking to her office and I see the rounded triangle with a circle in the middle of it's like the Department of Interior sign on a playground or something. I'm like, holy crap, that's this. It was just like, boom, that's the shape, because it had everything that you know what I mean? It's like, that's the shape. And so I go and I tell her, make that shape. And she's like, okay. But then she turned it upside down. She turned it like this because she thought it was Masonic like this, right? So she turned it upside down, but it was beautiful. So I send a prospectus to Starbucks to sell Look Your Heart in the Mirror jewelry in Starbucks, right? And that was a big day for me. It's like, I'm putting this package together. Got it. It's hard for people to, they take one segment of it and kind of focus on it, but this whole thing is like it's a woven tapestry. Everything's connected together, right? I was deranged, madman, broke, on the brink of death. My landlord, who happens to live in Rescue, California, invested in Look Your Heart in the Mirror and kept me alive, basically let me live in the house for free, or, barely any rent or kicked in, or, you know what I mean? Just, and then he'd push a little money here and there. But so on the day that I made the prospectus to send to Starbucks, I come home exactly from sending it. Right. I'm on my bike. I drive a little bicycle. I'm like a monk, and it has a little basket on the front. And so I come home from FedEx, I think I sent the prospectus from, and open my mailbox. I mean, mail came 2 or 3 o'clock every day. It was 2 or 3 o'clock. It hadn't been in my mailbox more than an hour. Impossible. So I like pull out the Rolling Stone magazine, right? And here's, put it in my bike basket. I'm going to go celebrate that I sent my prospectus to Starbucks, right?
Yep.
And the first place I go, or I kind of don't know where to go. I don't know where I'm going, but it's intuitive, Pizza Hut, because I like the salad bar. It's like Pizza Hut salad bar. I'm going to really, because I'd been living on nothing, like I had nothing. I was living on nothing, but I'm like, I'm going to go to Pizza Hut and have salad bar. So I sit down at Pizza Hut and I've got the Rolling Stone magazine and I open it up. The first page I opened to is a story called Kid Cannabis, which is about pot smugglers who were in Canada. They lived in Coeur d'Alene. They'd go up to Canada with backpacks and hike across the border with pounds and pounds and pounds of marijuana. And then they ended up having like a huge empire. They were the biggest dealers and they had all the money, all the bling, So the story in Rolling Stone was the first words I read in the story. Nate was a high school dropout who worked at Pizza Hut in Coeur d'Alene, and I'm sitting in Pizza Hut in Coeur d'Alene. I couldn't possibly make that up. It was so freaking crazy. I'm just fucking dumbfounded. Oh my God, that is so wild, right? And
that's some synchronicity right there.
That's that's because how could you? And that's where you go into, eventually the God that speaks to me, but it's like, to that degree of, what do you call it, omniscience.
Yeah.
That degree of omniscience is unfathomable. It's just impossible. So you're like, okay, the goddess, compared to like miracles that are described in the Bible, which are idiot miracles. I mean, any person can make them up. They're so silly. A stick turned into a snake, or crap like that. It's like, they're just stupid things that people can make up, because they can't imagine anything truly miraculous where it'd be like, oh my God, you can't explain that otherwise, So anyway, that's just a off, side note, that the miracles in the Bible are stupid compared to this is a freaking miracle beyond imagination that you could not possibly have orchestrated that or made it up or anything. It's like, okay, but this is real, and it isn't even over yet. So I open up the next thing in the Rolling Stone magazine is Paul McCartney on a bike that looks about like mine. I'm like, that's kind of freaking cool, because he's in this spread where he's riding this humble bicycle, right? And he got boom, 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 Paul McCartney. He's like, he's totally featured, and I'm like, and it looks like mine, and I'm like, that's freaking, because I had to understand this bicycle was just a junk bike. It's just a junk bike, but Paul McCartney's look about the same, you know. That's kind of cool. So I go home and I'm thinking about this, and I call my landlord. I don't remember. I think it must have been like a week later, because I didn't talk to my landlord every day, and it was just like, probably took me a while to freaking digest this and everything. But I'm talking to my landlord about it soon after, and I say the stuff about the kid cannabis and lived in court, or worked at Pizza Hut, and I'm sitting at Pizza Hut, and then I tell him the next story open to is Paul McCartney on a bike that looks like mine. And he says, I got tickets to see Paul McCartney in 3 nights. So, and I had sent him a pendant, right? So he has a pendant in his mailbox. He's got tickets to see Paul McCartney in 3 nights. And I'm like, holy shit, give the pendant to Paul McCartney, give it to security, do something, give that pendant to Paul McCartney, put a little note on it, and just see what happens. Who knows? And that ended up being absolutely nothing. I don't know. Paul McCartney ever probably got it, probably not. Somebody probably just, whatever security person said, hey, here's a nice necklace or whatever, So, but anyway, that was the freaking mind-blowingest coincidence ever. And then they kept happening, coincidences like that. I sued the guy that tortured me, and I didn't even think about the dates at the time. Particularly, I filed the suit on December 7th, which was my older brother's birthday, and it's Pearl Harbor Day. And my older brother was kind of black sheep, did crappy shit to me, and made me feel really bad at times, and just kind of a nemesis type brother type guy. And so December, and I didn't think about, it's December 7th. It was months later where I realized I filed the suit on December 7th, because the other dates started getting kind of crazy, so they deposed me on Valentine's Day, right? So I remember thinking, okay, because I was waiting for them to depose me. And I'm pro se, I don't have a lawyer, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm like, they're telling me the secretary was my friend, the secretary of the lawyer is my friend. So she's like, just kind of telling me, we're just getting our ducks in a row. We're going to depose you. So Valentine's Day, I go down there and get deposed about what happened. And by this time, see, the man-made lake, he had developed a man-made lake in a town called Rathdrum, which is a little north of Coeur d'Alene. And Rathdrum had a reputation for devil worship, right? For some time, whatever. I'm like, and this isn't that, nothing is to be taken like literally, this is a fact. It's just weird. So the man-made lake that he built looks like a snake kind of surrounding an island. There's an island and a snake surrounding it that has kind of a caricature feature, like it's a living animal, And so I thought, okay, you go on that island and then the snake squeezes you, and it's like a boa constrictor or whatever, it's just like a perilous thing. You go on the island thinking, this is a beautiful island, and then you're dead because the snake kills you. It kind of looks like it could be like that, right? So I wrote to all the real estate companies in town, beware of selling lots on this island. There's freaking weird demonic kind of crap going on, there could be a psychologically impacted property. I literally sent to the newspaper and all this crap, but nobody did anything. I was just a crazy son of a bitch. Didn't know what he's talking about, So,
of course.
So, we're in court on June 5th, 2006. And the lawyer for the guy that tortured me says, Mr. McPhee will be in my office tomorrow to answer Mr. Johnson's. I'm Mr. Johnson. So he'll be in my office tomorrow to answer Mr. Johnson's interrogatories. And tomorrow was 666. And I, like, at that moment, stuff at this time, it's hard. A lot of this is really personal. And so it's hard to people take their scrutinizing, view of everything, but this is really personal. And I had been thrown out of places, slandered as a sex offender, pedophile, rapist, stalker, all these things because of my eyes and the way I would look at people. So people start talking, and I couldn't go anywhere really without people believing things about me, or, it felt like that. It was definitely, I would definitely get thrown out. I'd get people slapping me, hitting me. I was probably the most ostracized person ever. It felt like that. So all of a sudden there's this thing in court where, I was deposed on Valentine's Day. Then the 666 thing, as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, I'm the good guy. I got this. I'm the good guy. It's official. The 666 thing. Then on 911, screwed me over for child support. The lawyer against me called my ex-wife and said, yeah, we can, because I had got the state to reduce it to, minimal amount because I wasn't making any money, and they freaking racked it right back up to where I was making money as a realtor, and the lawyer against me filed these affidavits about how much I was making. He knew damn well I wasn't making a damn thing. And so anyway, 911, they screwed me over in court on that. And so that was like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Now we're into the, getting to where it's an absolute fact that there's religious shit going on. And the first guy to see my pendant on the internet wrote me and said, I want it turned right side up, because it was upside down in the picture. And I didn't even know anybody would see it. I seriously had no idea if anybody would ever even see it. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to, what's it called when you put your website out there so more people see it,
market it. You're right. Market it.
Yeah. Just where
promote it.
So searches find it. I had no idea.
Yeah, I forget what the exact term is for that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I had nothing, and I didn't know anybody saw it. And then this guy emails me from New York, and he's like, "I like your pendant, but I want it turned the other way." And I'm like, "That's the way I designed it, So okay, so I called the actual physical jeweler guy who cast the pendant, and I said, "Can you turn it the other way?" He says, "Yes." So, but he had to make a new mold. He had to it was a little bit oblong, and he had to do some work on it. And by the time he did a new mold, it was shrunk. So the mirrors I had didn't fit, right? So then I had to order new mirrors from a place, custom. So that was like big money. And it was like big money for me. But anyway, I got the mirrors. I got the new ones, and they're freaking, that's where I say it's the most beautiful jewelry ever created. And that's because when I first looked at it, I'm like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful jewelry ever created. It wasn't like egotistical. It was not at all. It's just like, this is freaking beautiful. It's like this, oh my God, this is beautiful. Sterling silver, polished up nice. The guy's a craftsman, so I put it in the mailbox, and I tell the guy online, it's the most beautiful jewelry ever created. And so I'm tortured. It doesn't change anything about being tortured and suffering. I'm suffering unbelievably constantly 24 hours a day. But sitting in my chair, eyes closed, and I get up to my computer and check my email. And there's a letter from the guy. He says, I received the pendants. They really are beautiful. When I put one of them on, I felt this surge of power. It was an indescribable experience. I can't say what happened as soon as I put it on, But so here I am, like, now we're totally into the realm of that is freaking amazing. But I had no idea I couldn't put there's nothing to attach it to. It's just all this freaking miraculous stuff keeps happening, and I had nothing to attach it to, nothing. And I did not pray. I was laying on my back, felt like I was near death. My heart was ready to stop beating, it felt like. And I was just like, was I wrong about God? Was I wrong about Jesus? I was like, no, I wasn't wrong. So I didn't change. I was like, I wasn't wrong. This is has nothing to do with punishing me for not believing in Jesus or some shit, So then my kids came over with the DVD for Lost, the television show.
Yeah.
For the first season. And so I started, as soon as I damn near immediately, I knew it was a spiritual show. I was like, this show is about spirituality. So I got really into it. They brought over the second season. I got the first two seasons. And then I think it was on Netflix or something. I watched more seasons up to season 5. It was on season 5 about halfway through when I started watching live. And I got on a forum, lost.com, to talk about it. And I told people goddess spoke to me. Or no, the goddess hadn't spoke to me yet, right? So I'm on the forum, and I named myself New Age Messiah because you have to name yourself something. It's like, okay, I'm New Age Messiah because this crap is miraculous. And at the time, I was still referring to it as God. God. I found a blog that I wrote before the goddess spoke to me. I just called it God. I didn't have in fact, I thought the idea of a goddess was ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Why would that Green Day song, tell me all your thoughts on God because I'd really like to meet her. You know, but to me that was repulsive. It was like, what the hell? That's bullshit. You know, so there's not the slightest idea of Egyptian, of goddess, of anything, right? None. But in Lost, there was Egyptian stuff going on. But anyway, they started to make fun of me a little bit, but they thought it was kind of curious, you know, the New Age Messiah, you know, whatever, look your heart in the mirror stuff. And so I became very popular on the Lost forum, or, you know, as most of the conversation was driven by me because I was just more crazy than everybody else. And I said, shit, you know what I mean? It's like, so during this time, okay, I go to the coffee shop. I'm going to the coffee shop every day at this time, right? During this period, I go down to downtown coffee shop, not Starbucks. It used to be Starbucks, but they threw me out.
Stop!
Yep.
Stop! I need your help.
Okay.
I need your help in this one game. Can you play Craig in the Universe with me?
No, it's all good. You can get, they're talking to each other in the background.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so
Shut the door, both of you.
I love kids, so I don't even my kids. Oh, you got a girl, I'll send you a little necklace. Here, let me show you. I got. See if can she see the computer?
Yeah. Hey Bella, he wants to show you something.
What?
He wants to show you something. Look. You see that? Yeah, she sees it.
So I got necklaces. Yeah, look at that, pretty necklaces and bracelets. Bracelet you can't see. Oh, yeah, there. See, I got little kids jewelry is a silicone rubber now. It's
you?
getting pretty.
For me?
It's getting pretty advanced. Anyway, so
Here?
Lost.
Yeah, lost.
So we got lost there. So all of a sudden, like I go downtown. I've been going to the coffee shop every day as my little ritual thing. And I go to the coffee shop and the gym. That's pretty much all I could do. I was in shape, thinking I was going to be a hero at this time. You know, I'm like, I need to be buff. I need to be, because I'm going to take on the world, and you know, I'm going to win this lawsuit, and the whole world's going to take notice and acknowledge me and all this, you know. So I'm still in the hero mode. But anyway, I go down there and talk to the guy who's a intellectual scholar type, and we're talking about Lost, and he says the Egyptians were the first. He says the Egyptians were the first major civilization to go away from worshiping the goddess.
Yeah.
And when he said goddess, there was like a twinkling, because I felt like I was in a womb, and the black hole thing that I was going through, I felt like I was in a womb. And when he said goddess, I had this little twinkling in my heart, because I remember like in junior high or early high school, there was a history class, and there was a history of religions, and I remember seeing this bird goddess.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it.
There's a bird goddess, and I remember the warm feeling having at that point, but that's all I had. It was like a 5-second warm feeling thinking about this bird goddess, right? Putting its wings around you or something, you know? So anyway, I go home from that, and I think within a day or two, I'm laying on my back. I have rented the rooms in my house to a couple of hooligans, you know, it wasn't my house, it was my landlord's house, but he was letting me rent the rooms to help with the money. And they were making noise in the kitchen. It was just, you know, guys you would never have anything to do with, you know, but they're paying the rent, or, you know. So I'm like, well, I'm so miserable. Why am I living in this? And I laid down, I'm laying on my back, like in misery, thinking, you know, what the hell? And then that's when she spoke to me. And just out of the clear blue, complete silence, but it came from within. It wasn't like from without. It was within my soul, but it was a woman's voice in plain English. I'm very angry. Tefnut cooking, or I'm not. Here's what I absolutely positively heard was Tef cooking, and I couldn't, because the second syllable made no sense to me. So I'm like, I didn't know what she said, but it was Tef something cooking. So I immediately thought I had a scratched up Teflon pan. I'm thinking, is she pissed off because I'm cooking in my scratched up Teflon pan and I'm eating the poison? Or, you know, it's like, why is she mad? And then, or why is whoever mad? I didn't even think who, or, you know, I had no idea then. So like a day or two later, I'm like, finally, it's like, okay, that was a goddess. that was a goddess that spoke to me. That's the only thing it could possibly be, was a goddess. And then I told my kids that God spoke to me and stuff, and it took like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, something like, I don't know the time frame exactly, but I checked out another book at the library by Elizabeth Pinch called The Gods and Goddesses of Egypt, or something like that. So I'm going through the book, and remember, and also during that time I realized the missing word was her name. That's her name. Whatever that word was that I didn't get, that's her name. So that was in my mind, right? So I'm reading this book and I see the word Tefnut or Tefnut. I don't even know how she pronounced it, but in the book about Egyptian gods and goddesses, I'm like, holy shit, there it is. That's her. That's who spoke to me, Tefnut. So I start searching the internet for everything I can find about Tefnut, and she was the original mother. There's like the creator created Shu, and Tefnut were the two that spawned all the other gods and goddesses. And there's stories about her being the most powerful, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she took the soul eye. So there's the all-seeing eye, according to the book by Elizabeth Pinch, is related to Tefnut. And then, so anyway, I had this thing, Tefnut's real. I started making on the internet forum. I was on a conspiracy theory forum, and saying all this, rubbing Christianity into the mud and saying, Christianity is over, blah, blah, blah. All this, basically announcing that I'm the New Age Messiah, and Tefnut is pissed off. She's angry. She's cooking. And then as I studied more about Tefnut, I came across this thing that her name was changed to Mot in coffin texts, which is like the Egyptian scrolls or whatever, So somewhere in the coffin text it says that Atum changed Tefnut's name to Mot. And what's weird is that when I told the guy that ordered the pennant that had the experience about my story, he said that's Mot. And this is going back a year or something, that's Mot. And then all of a sudden I realized, okay, Tefnut is Mot. So Mot rules all the gods and goddesses, and she's, a big deal. The pharaohs had to do her will and everything. So I'm not going to say this for an absolute fact, but Mot is Tefnut, I think. And then this wisdom keeper guy from Egypt was talking to Stephen Mailer, who's a scholar, and says the Sphinx is Tefnut because, according to Egyptian wisdom keeper, the Sphinx is Tefnut, right? So this is another thing as I find out things, this is going on time, whatever, a year later or something like that. So I find that out, and I post on this conspiracy theory forum that the Sphinx is Tefnut, and there's a story about the Sphinx talking to a guy saying he's going to make him pharaoh if he gets the sand off the bottom of the Sphinx, right? There was supposedly in this story, there was a ton of, it's a story. I'm not saying it's true, but there's a story that Tefnut, the Sphinx spoke to a guy and said, get the sand off of me and I'll make you pharaoh. And he did, and she did. And the guy became pharaoh, right? So I found this story and I posted it on the conspiracy theory forum that this story happened. It's just not like, as anything, just a matter of fact, this is a story about the Sphinx, because the Sphinx is Tefnut. Tefnut speaks to me, so this is kind of wild, right? And then the next day in the news, and I'm not exaggerating, the time frame was so tight. There's a story in the news about they uncovered a statue of this pharaoh that the Sphinx supposedly talked to. This is like the next day. There's a story in the news. Right. So I post that story under the same thread, I think, is like, look at this shit. I told you guys, whatever, I'm going to be the next pharaoh. Or, I was kind of I'm just trying to decide what the hell is going on. I say I'm the New Age Messiah, all this shit, and I'm not, don't even know what that means, except that's what I named myself, and all this shit is happening to make it true. I named that self, and then the God spoke to me. And then these, bizarre. So I only named myself that because I sacrificed myself. I found something new, it's like, and there was miracles, and it was obviously religious. So what am I? I'm the New Age Messiah, whatever. So I end up being the only person in the world to solve Lost. Like I found the hidden meaning of it in the airline names and flight numbers, which signify religion versus spiritual, and the religion was the evil that needs to be brought up. If religion gets into the world will end, basically, and we need to be spiritual, not religious. Is the message of the show. As the fact that I solved Lost is indisputable if you look at it from a perspective of things that happened in the finale, and especially like the last part of season 5, but mostly season 6. It was just like a sledgehammer. All the things that I said that the show is talking about happened or were completely blatantly illustrated. Like I said, Oceanic 815 was the good airline, and 815 8/5 was the golden ratio, 8/5 instead of 815. It was 8/5 was 8/5 the golden ratio, and then Oceanic was the oceanic consciousness, or like where you are one, where the world is one, reality is unified or whatever. You don't feel any separation between yourself and anything else. You're just, everything's all one thing. Kind of the realization of that. It's called oceanic consciousness. So Oceanic represented that spiritual enlightenment, and then the Ajira 316 was the other airline, and that represented John 316 and religion, and that was evil. And I said, okay, I said this after season 5. I made this theory, right? And then season 6 comes along, and I said the Richard guy represents the Pope and everything, and he denied Jacob as like the Messiah figure in Lost, and Richard denies Jacob 3 times. He says he's the go-between between you know what I mean? He's like the appointed go-between. So he represented the Pope. I said he represented the Pope. And then when they had the replays going, they had at the bottom of the screen, they basically said Richard is the go-between, It's like, so he's like the Pope. And and his Ricardus, I had it completely nailed. And that's only the beginning. Like they showed an oceanic water bottle. The guy's got to drink this water to become master of the island or whatever, this special water. And because the one guy got stabbed and he's going to die, Jack is going to die. And so they need a new guy. And they hand him an oceanic water bottle with this water in it. And they show it clear. It's like advertising for oceanic water, right? He's going to drink this water to become, the new whatever protector of the island, which was this religious figure, and he drinks out of an oceanic water bottle. And then they have Desmond, who's the kind of the prophet guy. He's talking about enlightenment, and he gets this radioactive super freaking to be able to go into the source of the core of the island to do some mystery thing, unplug it or something. And he's the only person in the world who can go there. And they show him getting shocked and getting all this crazy crap happen to him. Then he floats into the sky. They show the sky like heaven, right? And then they show him immediately after that, like the scene, there's a cut to the scene where he's standing in front of the Oceanic sign in the airport, Oceanic. And then and then this is where it's like I told my kids, because they came over for the finale, right? I said, this is the meaning of the show, blah, 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 blah. So the finale comes on. And it opens up with just oceanic, beautiful sky, beauty, oceanic logo on stuff. So the first 30 seconds of the finale of the series is oceanic in like a heavenly sense. That's a total impression you get. I'm like, I told you, see, there it is, oceanic. And then just there's more, but I solved Lost. I'm the only person in the world to solve Lost, and it's about religion versus spiritual. And there's all kinds of crap about mirrors in the show. There's a goddess. In fact, the source of the island was like a hole in the ground that looked like a vaginal canal, or it's like the source is freaking feminine, right? So like, okay, and then they called. They basically referred to the source of the island as the heart of the island, and it was basically a goddess, and blah, blah, blah. So that was like, Okay, I'm the only person in the world to solve loss. I'm the only person in the world who knew what loss was about. I'm thinking, okay, all this stuff happens. People are going to start listening to me eventually, right? Nobody did. They just said, oh, bullshit, fuck you. Maybe like 1 out of 100 people would have something even remotely positive to say. They made fun of my jewelry. What crap, just all I got was derision, and nothing changed really, except that I knew more and more. I just became more and more convinced that I was the New Age Messiah. Not that means anything. Not saying it means anything at all. The idea that people have a Messiah is ridiculous. There ain't no God intercoursing with some virgin to make a baby to save everybody from the devil. And he don't walk on water, and he ain't going to save the world, and he ain't coming back and killing all the bad people. None of it's all crap. So like, I have no idea what the New Age Messiah is. I just know that I said I was it based on facts, not based on ego at all. And shit started happening to confirm it. Right then, like on 12/21/12, I made a website that can't be mentioned because it's very controversial, but I made a website on 12/21/12, and that website went viral, and I was in world news. And I said on my website, this is kind of funny that I made this site on 12/21/12 because I'm the New Age Messiah, right? It's kind of weird. And then they made fun of me more. That crazy son of a bitch, the website was on Anderson Cooper. It was in, the idea of it was in magazines all around the world. And I had like millions of hits on my website, but they hacked it and didn't let anybody see it, by the way you can make it so people can't find it. They did that. All of a sudden it was the views just went boop. So I was kind of taken out on that, but the fact that I made that site on 12/21/12, which was the Mayan calendar date, and the fact that website would the facts of that website would pretty much destroy the cabal. And it's what we think of as the cabal, that, whatever, the evil people who are kind of completely control us, turn us into prisoners on earth and own everything. You'll own nothing and be happy. All those kind of people would lose a lot of power. If my story becomes a movie, which I'm trying to get it made into a movie, that those people will lose a lot of power, and a lot of people will be very serious mud on their faces, including, but the problem is that the religious people will be screwed. The political people will be screwed. Everybody will be screwed. Nobody comes out better, except for humanity. But they have to release a lot of the crap that they hold true. So that's pretty much, I can't think of anything that's radical to add to the story. But, so the mirror jewelry, shine a light. There's a few things there that are worth mentioning. The Look Your Heart in the Mirror is LYHITM. So that's like Lightem. They put my company in the yellow pages as a lighting store. And so you put N in front of it, and Lightem. So when you shine a light on somebody, you enlight them. And, the age of enlightenment for little kids, LY is love you. When you look your heart in the mirror, your heart says back, LY, love you. HI, hi. TM, trust me. Look your heart in the mirror, love you, hi, trust me. And they're miraculous, which is another coincidence. The jewelry is miraculous. The guy put it on and had a freaking experience he can't describe. And somebody else put one of the clay ones on in my apartment. She didn't put it in writing or anything, but she came out of her room, or my house, that she was a tenant in my house. And I gave her a pendant. She put it on. It was a clay one that I made, and she came out of her room and said, "Oh my God, I don't know. That fucking felt weird when I put that on." So something was, and this is early on. This is like one of the first, So, but nothing has happened since. And those were really, they aren't meant to mean anything except for to tell me that I'm on the right track. Because, like I say, you don't want to lose focus on the fact that I'm near death and I still suffer. There will come up. There's still this black hole thing is a massive amount of negative energy, whatever you want to say, that's about to flush. It's like I can just feel it as any second. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be any second. And any second I'm going to be able to, because I was very I was very good with words, and I could I could create persuasion with how I was, and I can't persuade anybody now with the way my soul is screwed up. I can't persuade anybody of anything anymore. I have no persuasive abilities whatsoever. So, and as a result, nothing really happens. The only way I sell any jewelry is if the kids are, I make mostly kid stuff. If the parents come and see how cute it is, and so I've had kids swarm my table, and the electricity of it has been, but they don't have wallets, they don't have car keys. You know what I mean? They don't, and so nothing has really happened to speak of with the jewelry, except it's getting better and better, and it's closer and closer to being like marketable, like in Walmart, quality, type thing. So what else? That's the story, I guess. I lost the lawsuit. The judge was former partners with the lawyer against me, and he made the biggest ass of himself ever with his pronouncements, and then he withdrew from the case on appeal because I found out he was former partners with the lawyer. You know what I mean? It's like, so that was like going to be I'm going to be a hero, and then and at that point, my landlord who invested in my company and saved me from Rescue California, he kept with me at that point. He's like, it's okay. He just kept with me. And he's a hero beyond any words that to keep me alive, and and he was a Christian too. So I didn't tell him ever that I declared myself New Age Messiah or any of that stuff, because it was a very personal thing, but he kept with me. He kind of knew that was going on. As a Christian, he kept with me, so I really can't say enough how great that guy was, is and that's it. So go ahead and talk. I talked. tell me what's kind of on your mind about it. If you have any questions, if you want to say anything.
Oh, I mean, well, where to begin is the thing. That whole story was miraculous. It should be a movie, that story. That would be a great movie or mini series on TV, but it truly would. But so you said you had no contact with Ma or Tefnut since the first time?
Right. She spoke once. I'm very angry, Tefnut cooking, and that was enough, because I was like, okay, I know what's going on.
No, I mean, yeah, of course, but it's just usually if they talk to someone, they usually talk like every so often. Like it's like a
nope, that was it. And I'm certainly not worthy to be spoken to, and especially in my condition, I couldn't communicate anything more, because I'm tortured. I am suffering, constantly. So about the movie part, I got to tell, because that sparked everything in this story happened movie-esque. Like, the guy that tortured me lived on a lake, right? And he's a dope smoking fiend and just massive freaking dope. And this private plane crashed on the lake in front of his place. And he had jet ski, jumped on his jet ski and pulled the guy out of the lake, out of the plane, saved his life. The plane exploded, just like in the movies. I'm not kidding. It was in the news. He was on the news. My girlfriend drove by on her way home, saw the ambulances and the news crew and everything, goes home. There he is on TV. The guy that freaking tortured me and basically murdered me. If I didn't have all those miracles happen, I'd be dead 1,000 times over since then, So she said, so anyway, she sees him, she's in love with him. She sees him in the news, and oh, what a wonderful guy. And he's such a hero. He saved this guy's life. Right. And and added to that this is a movie type thing. Right. And I'm laying on my back. I find out that he saved the guy's life. I'm laying on my back, barely able to answer my phone. Mike just saved the guy's life. He just pulled the guy from the plane. I'm like, oh God, no. And because it just made him more of a dream guy for my girlfriend. He just more of a dream. He just is just beyond it. But then I didn't realize this immediately. It took like a while, because I was listening to Radiohead on repeat. I mean, I had I had a 5 CD thing, Radiohead. And so I was listening to Radiohead all the time. And there's a song called Lucky where they say, pull me out of the air crash, pull me out of the lake. It's freaking crazy, but I'm listening to that song. I'm like, is that really what they said in that freaking song? Right. So it's like, okay. And I mean, Radiohead is literally, if you're into Radiohead and the way they sing and the way the feelings that the vulnerability that's in that, and just it's very close to synchronizes with my story very, very closely. It's like the same thing. I mean, what was it? Oh, so one of the first jobs I get are, I'm doing temp. I'm coming back to life a little bit. I'm starting to work temp, starting to pay my own way a little bit. And there's an ad in the paper for a porta potty company, right? They need somebody. The guy just quit. The guy to clean up them toilets, and the guy doesn't want to do it himself, so he's hired somebody. So I go over there and, start driving a porta potty truck. And one of the first places I go is this man-made lake that I freaking set up to build. As a real estate guy, I did all the meetings. I freaking picked the spot. I picked the layout of how many, basically turn it into a residential lot. What I wanted to do was cheap lots, nothing fancy houses on a lake so that people could afford to live on a lake without being rich. And that was my idea in the city limits. So there's this man-made lake in the city limits. I've never seen it. I set it up. I should be a millionaire because of it. But luckily they went broke because the market went right when they got it built. I mean, the market was like on fire. And then as soon as they got it built, the market completely crashed. So it was like, there you go, guys. They lost all their money. But the first time I go on that man-made lake project, I'm in a freaking porta potty truck cleaning toilets. That's you know what I mean? What screenwriter could think of that? The guy sets it up, and then the first time he ever sees it, he's in a freaking porta potty truck cleaning toilets for the construction crews. That.
And was that back in 2008 when they finished building it and everything crashed?
It was about that time, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
okay.
2003 he tortured me, and then probably about 2005 he had the permit to build the lake, and then that's about the time frame. But the market completely crashed at the very time they were ready to start selling the lots and the houses.
That's just justice. That's justice.
Oh man, it really was. Even though I didn't win the case, I'm like, okay, great. That's freaking. But not to take anything away from the guy's talent. I mean, he's a freaking brain genius, amazing guy that everybody has this affinity for as soon as they start talking to him. It's like, wow, this is a guy. And even pet animals would be like that too.
I mean, they say the devil comes in many forms, and
I'm telling you,
he attracts everybody to him.
It is weird. He's the most magnetic guy and just easy going. He wore a jacket with the word love on it. Just, you know what I mean? Just that extreme of, and I was telling this guy, I was in a bar drinking with this guy who was kind of sort of interested, but he's an idiot. But anyway, I was telling about this guy and the 666 thing and all this stuff. And then the guy that tortured me walks into the bar. I said, there he is right there. And he's like, oh my God, he looks like the fucking devil. This is like that. Freaking A, man. It's freaking weird. Yeah, but nothing spectacular for me or, about my situation has happened to further what I'm thinking is, because when this trauma flushes, what I'm hoping is that I'll have some special power or some ability to, but really what I thought from the beginning, like within 6 months or something, looking at heart in the mirror and stuff happening, I thought all I have to be is normal. If I'm normal, this thing will explode, because of all I have to do is tell exactly what happened in a normal voice, and it'll freaking blow people's minds. And I can't be, what I always say, I can't be discredited. You can't discredit me. I've got all the freaking documentation. All this shit really happened. There's no possibility of anybody saying, ha, look, he's lying. I didn't lie about a single thing, not one stitch. Everything that I said happened. So
I believe it. And what I will say, though, is if you really do want to try to talk to Mott again, there are plenty of, I've met plenty of spiritual healers, transcendent people and there's a lot of them out there that they have the ability to help, like, teach you how to communicate. Probably a lot of them could. Not all of them, but a lot of them could, because they all talk to different beings themselves, whether they're named beings or not. They all talk to different beings themselves.
Well, that's the thing, is that somebody had to at some point, otherwise these names wouldn't be written down. And that's a weird thing. Is like, this is so far from my imagination that this could possibly happen, and a goddess is actually speaking. That you just wonder, how did anybody ever find out about these gods and goddesses? And what really pisses me off is a lot of these Egyptologists are like, oh, there's gods and goddesses aren't real. They're just figments of, they're just a way of saying things, or, maybe they were aliens or whatever. It's like, no, aliens don't know everything that freaking goes on as it goes on everywhere in the world all at once, which is the only way you can explain the Kid Cannabis thing of orchestrating all those things into one, is impossible. You have to be omniscient. And aliens aren't omniscient. They come and look. They come and visit, if they even exist, which I doubt. But that doesn't mean anything. It just means I haven't had any reason to believe in aliens. So,
see, as my listeners know, I'm a huge believer in aliens, because, the government basically admitted there's UFOs that they don't know what they are, and there's a lot. I've talked to people who communicate with aliens on this show, and there's just a lot of proof of it.
Oh, I've had people that I have no reason to disbelieve tell me that they saw Markabas, or and I floated up into space once when I did twirling, like at the Grateful Dead concerts. People used to twirl, I guess, which I didn't know, but I one night released all my everything and started twirling to a song, dancing, and I ended up spinning and going up into the universe, out of body experience,
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, and then I found out later, like a lot later, that they did that at the Grateful Dead concerts, and it just happens if you just release everything and start spinning. I went like a helicopter. I started like, how the ice skaters, they get going so fast you can't even believe, and then it started to go like that in my consciousness, and pretty soon I was up into space, and it took a while for me to come back down. But I don't, and this is just talking, this is just me. This is just generally my brain, my experience, what I found to be amazing is that I took no conscious effort to make any of this stuff happen. So I don't want to make a conscious effort to make anything happen. It's like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's outside of I don't want to try to manipulate it into happening. The only thing I consciously try to do is tell people basically what happened. I don't try to make anything happen. Maybe I do occasionally, but it's like, it never works, and it's just ridiculous. And then as far as aliens, I don't believe anything the government says, no matter what. Even if they say, yeah, we did find aliens, no matter what they say ever, no matter what ever, I don't believe it ever on its face, no matter what. And I think that they will completely dupe everybody about everything, no matter what. That's all they ever do. That's their whole mission in life.
I agree with that 100%.
Dupe people, shit out of people,
The government loves to lie to everybody, and I am a big believer that there's some kind of, whether you want to call it Illuminati, New World Order, there's something out there of powerful people that are controlling what governments do. But
yeah. And it's not even our government anymore. It's a world government, whether it's in name only or whatever, or, well, the COVID thing proves that, they're all orchestrating it. They're all in it together. There's just every freaking snake, everything's the same. You see these newscasters, right? Those, on the YouTube where they show all the newscasters saying the exact same thing all across the country. Not good for our democracy. This is dangerous for our democracy. And they all, hundreds of newscasters saying the same damn thing all across the country. And they're making a monolithic where you can't disagree, and they censor the shit out of everybody who does. They censored me like mad. They're censoring me right now. My lookyourheartinthemirror.com website. It says phishing, dangerous, taking your information. It's like, I don't even have a field on there where people can put in information, and so you can't go. It's like this big red screen. At least on my browser it is. I don't know if it's per browser, but Microsoft put this thing out there. You can't go to my website unless you click oh, I dare to go to this website. I'm you know, I'm risk taker or whatever. So that, yeah, and I got everything on that conspiracy site. They completely wiped me out. They totally, everything I ever wrote, they wiped it off the freaking site. The lost, I got booted off 3 lost forums. And then the third one that booted me off, I said, come on, man, I didn't do anything wrong. They're freaking making this shit up. Whatever they said is false. I didn't, and he said, okay. They let me on the lost forum, the one where I eventually had like views. I mean, it was an astronomical number of views compared to all the other threads was on my thread. And they let me on, but they had a moderator that was specially on me. And no matter what I posted, that moderator would freaking jump on it immediately. If it was anything even slightly that might hurt somebody's feelings or what, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just completely strict. On Twitter, I've been able to say, because I have very low follower count and very low engagement, but I've been a few times, like Cernovich replied to me once. I said, Alex Jones and his lawsuit didn't freaking appeal, I don't think, because I was, at the time he was getting sued for $1 trillion or whatever, I was watching his show a little bit, and I don't ascribe to Alex Jones or anything at all, but a little bit, but
yeah,
he was talking about a suit and he didn't appeal. And I'm like, he's saying what a horrible thing it was and how great of an injustice. And he never said he appealed. So I kept asking all these pundits on Twitter, why didn't he appeal? Why didn't he appeal? And I said it like 10 times. Finally, I said it to Cernovich. So why didn't he appeal? I asked again, and Cernovich replied to me. So things like that will happen. I'll get like massive amount of engagement when big names have replied to me. I caused, not that my existence is entirely political, but I do think the Democrat Party is just disgusting people for the most part, at least the ones in charge. And I had this meme that was Democrats and demon rats. That's what libs are made of, because I'm more of a conservative, whatever. But I posted that to Judge Janine, right? And somebody might have said demon rats before me, but it was original to me. I thought of it on my own, demon rats. Because all you got to do is take the C and turn it 90 degrees, and it's at the end, demon rats. And I posted that to Judge Janine. I said, whatever. Posted a couple times. She went on her show and said, demon rats. That's what they are, demon rats. She said it twice on her show, So I get there's inklings or beginnings of being influential, where it is probably going to happen, but what happens with the story, I don't know. I really appreciate the time to come on here and talk about it, because I haven't had any podcaster invite me on. I haven't had any interest beyond casual sort of, and then within 10 seconds they're gone, because people take the isolated events. Like I say, if I say the Kid Cannabis story, they're like, that's a coincidence, but they don't realize that this, like I say, a tapestry, and that's what happened. Lost was a tapestry.
As soon as I saw, whenever people have stories about synchronicity, you have to listen to the whole story. You can't just listen to like pieces of it. You have to hear the whole story, and then it all comes together at the end, kind of like that. This happened here. Like it happened too many times to be coincidental. But I do want to thank you for coming on, Jay. It's been an honor talking to you, and it's been. Your story is amazing, and I can't wait to get this out next month. Well, actually, it'll be beginning of March probably. But I don't know. I'm a little behind with uploading right now, but I got episodes going to February, so I'm not too concerned about it. But thank you for coming on. Where can people find your jewelry?
Heartmirrors.com.
Heartmirrors.com.
So it's not a mirror of you; it's a mirror of your heart.
Yep.
And the kids named it that, or they said heart mirrors. They went to my stand and said heart mirrors. These are heart mirrors. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'll call them, heart mirrors. Heartmirrors.com. And then I have a bunch of other sites, but that's the one where the jewelry is, and it's kind of new, so there's not everything on there, but it's kind of And then there's the initials LYHITM. Lookyourheartinthemirror.com. LYHITM.com. Lookyourheartinthemirror.com. And then I decided the Milky Way was the goddess Milky, and Milky Way is kind of like the way of the goddess.
Yeah.
Being the Milky Way .global, I bought that site as kind of like I said it's the biggest religion in the world because everybody's in it, in the Milky Way.
I like that.
It's the biggest religion in the world. So I do kind of think it's a religion, but it doesn't have any rules or nothing that I can, and that's maybe to come. Who knows? Maybe she will start saying shit to me beyond, I'm very angry, Tefnut cooking. And then maybe I will have something to write, beyond just this is what happened. It's really just a story so far. There's no real moral to it, except obviously everybody has known since forever that the heart is the place where the real shit happens, that it's the love, the beauty. Yeah. It's the core of your being. There's radio, what do they call it? Electromagnetic stuff that goes on with the heart. I mean, it's a freaking mega thing that people underestimate vastly. So, but it's like one of those little pitch words, and there's so many. There's only one place in the world you can buy a miracle. Look your heart in the mirror. Exactly. Heartmirrors.com. So,
I like that.
I have no profit motivation at all. I'm so far behind on it as far as money and everything. But what I say is, if you buy a miracle, or buy a couple, buy half a dozen, you give one to somebody, like a little kid. Like I've always thought, I wish I had one in my pocket. I never do, because I never think about it ahead of time. But if I had one in my pocket and I see one of these little kids in the store, that you just fall in love with, I would love to just give them like a little jewelry and say, here, I hope you like this. And then you'd be a miracle worker. If you start passing out little jewelries, little mirror jewelries, you become a miracle worker. That's like a little bit of persuasion that I can do, that's kind of like a sales thing. I don't really do the sales thing.
I thank you again for coming on, Jay. It's been great talking to you. I advise everyone to go check out his websites and look at his jewelry, and maybe you do need a miracle out there. Maybe my listeners do. But all my listeners know where they can find me. Be sure to check me out in all these real places, and I will be back in half a week for another show. Thank you, Jay, once more for coming on, and I will see everybody next time.